In the depths of darkness, the unholy walks. During the day, the light forces the evil to hide, but during the night, the wicked is allowed to walk. And that wickedness is a vile predator, without sympathy, without feelings, and that is the Volatiles from Dying Light. Hello my Gooners and welcome. If you haven't seen the second episode of Can He Survive, it's basically Crane versus the corruption of the world of Hunt Showdown. Link will be in the description. But the focus of today's video is basically all the variants we have seen of the Volatiles, and I guess everything that has to do with these infected. Before we actually start going over the Volatiles, I would like to first look at the original concept design for these infected. For the first concept, the Volatile was covered in some type of hard rock substance. Their veins had become a deep red. It also appeared as if all their skin was missing and their muscles seemed noticeably enhanced. The design is very similar to the concept we got for the Charger in Dying Light 2, and compared to the other designs, its face kinda remained human. The flesh around its mouth seems to be torn up. I don't know how practical it would have been for biting or spitting, but I guess its armored hands might have made up for it by causing extra damage. The second concept appears almost alien. This design almost makes it feel like if it was naked. The original things that made the Volatile scary are completely removed. Actually, this design feels like it shouldn't even belong in this universe. The black-red circles around its body does add a cool aspect to it, but it honestly doesn't feel menacing and looks rather sickly. Its fingernails and toenails have grown larger, but apart from that, this thing doesn't seem very capable. Perhaps during the night the red circles would glow. Maybe that could have added a new fear factor, but who knows. The third design is a fusion of the first two, with the exception being the armor has become more toned down. I will say the armor gives it a threatening look, but the thing that really holds down this design is its face. Like, I can't tell whether it's supposed to resemble a bat or a pig. The face makes it look really stupid. The rock substance on the other hand goes hard. It appears like it's tearing out of its body, but the coating around its hands just makes them look fat, and that slime around its body just looks disgusting, which in itself isn't inherently bad. It just makes it look like it crawled out of some womb or just got nutted on. The last and possibly the best original design is this thing. It's all bony, and the way the muscles wrap around the bones adds a level of disgustingness. This thing was possibly the catalyst to what we eventually got. Honestly, this design feels like it could have been an evolution or a decaying version of a Volatile. The whole body is mangled, and it really resembles the body horror the creators are trying to display. The remaining skin around its body makes it even better. Unlike the third design, covered in goo, this feels more natural. I could just imagine running at night in the streets of Haran and then boom, this thing starts chasing ya. But honestly, I'm very glad for the design we got. It's possibly the best in my opinion. Now we start to touch upon the creation of Volatiles. It does appear the way Volatiles are made changes depending on the virus. The first period is where we get this gestation incubation period where the body goes through a metamorphosis and changes into a Volatile. The explanation given for the Haran virus is basically infected dragged human corpses to feed on them in dark places, but sometimes they dragged still living people into these feeding grounds. Then the lack of exposure to UV light seems to trigger this change. We do see a case where one of these incubating volatiles was exposed to sunlight. It halted the process, and now this person sits there in never-ending torment. The sunlight seems to constantly burn this volatile, but it has no way of escaping as it's rooted into this flesh pit. You can hear its pleas for mercy. This actually implies that during this process a person still retains some of their consciousness. And if that's the case, then they are alive as their body is torn and mangled. They feel the entire process as their humanity is replaced by something despicable. During the transformation, their jaw and ribcage are ripped open, their skin and muscles are altered, their eyes are replaced with this crimson red fury, and at the end, everything that once made them human is completely gone. In Dying Light 2, this process changes. The TH virus strain introduces a new method for volatiles to be created. For starters, it involves a person who has already turned into a viral. As you know, the longer a antiviral is exposed to sunlight, the weaker it becomes until it turns into a biter. Further exposure will continue to degenerate the body. However, in Dying Light 2, volatiles are virals that weren't exposed to any sort of UV light. The lack of UV lights triggers their metamorphosis and they begin to undergo a transformation. So now we have volatile hives. These are typically one individual transforming into a volatile. They are found at night, and when you attack one of them, they will have many volatiles come to their aid. When you kill one, you can literally see as its body is ripped from the flesh that held it in place. Volatile nests are large flesh pits that can be found in dark areas. There will be 3 or more of these volatiles. This is where the volatiles come to hide during the day. However, that isn't all for these nests. In Dying Light and the Beast, we are given 2 instances where volatiles are having a meeting. The first actually has a volatile that appears to be larger than any volatile we've ever encountered. You can literally see how it towers over the others. When attempting to enter, a jump scare occurs and volatiles begin chasing you. However, if you listen close enough, you can hear some disturbing sounds, which has led me to believe these volatiles are having a goon sesh. I mean, what else could it be? Now the true fun part begins, where we get to go over every volatile we've been given so far, and surprisingly, there's quite a few. For starters, we need to start with the OG volatile. We went over all the original concept designs, but we never fully went over these guys. These are the apex predators that actively hunt you during the night. They are extremely fast enough to keep up with your buggy during the following. They can spick this acidic phlegm and pounce on their victims. Even though these things are terrifying, they have one glaring weakness: UV lights. It burns their skin and makes them scurry away. One thing I want to talk about, and I don't think anybody else has mentioned it, but volatiles kinda have an uncanny resemblance to the creeper. I don't know why, but the first time I saw a volatile, it just reminded me so much of this thing. Of course, volatiles don't have wings or can use weapons, but there's just something there that I can't quite put together. Now imagine if they made volatiles that could fly. Oh boy. I already mentioned it, but we got the Master Gooner from the meeting. I don't know if it was by accident, which I highly doubt it, but for whatever reason, this volatile is massive. You can see how the other volatiles look puny compared to it. I wish we'd gotten more details about this volatile, but sadly, that's all there is. Unlike your typical volatile, if you attempt using camouflage, they will see straight through it and attack you. These things are improved, stronger versions to volatiles. So if these things are alpha volatiles, does that make the normal volatiles betas? That's just a question to ponder. Either way, these things change in color, adopting a bluish purple hue, and their bodies have further mutated. Spikes and blue armor now cover their bodies. This new added bonus makes them significantly stronger and durable. It would appear from the beginning they wanted to give volatile some type of armor, as we saw in 2 of the concept designs. I only wish they had kept the design for the 3rd concept, and how the armor looks to actually be ripping out of the skin instead of just being covered by that material, but I guess changing the color to blue was a nice touch. Alright, for this video, I will only be going over 2 sentient volatiles. In fact, if you want to ignore these 2, you can. They are sentient volatiles, but unlike the rest, like Crane and Aiden, these 2 actually resemble volatiles. These 2 are, of course, the Mother and the Baron. In fact, you can even make an argument that the Baron is a sentient chimera, but it still doesn't remove the fact that he looks like a volatile. I'm only adding them in this video because they literally look like volatiles in one way or another, so keep that in mind. The Mother turned into a volatile sometime after being exposed to a blue serum created by the military. She is the true definition of a sentient volatile. Her entire appearance is that of a female volatile. However, unlike the rest, she gained some unique abilities with her transformation. She has gained a form of telepathy and her eyes have turned blue. During the fight against Crane, she can summon clones, although this is probably a hallucination either caused by the delirious state Crane is in or some type of influence caused by the Mother. She can also spit and has this screeching howl. She's also as vicious, if not more, than the volatiles. I'm not gonna lie, but I think the design for the Volatiles took a horrible turn. I know there are people out there who like this design, but this is just too drastic of a change to the Volatiles. This almost complete gray hue covering their body is just too bland, and now their bodies are chunkier, being covered in some kind of armor. They also lost the body horror aspect to it without that ripped rib cage. I do like that their hands are covered in blood, but if I'm being honest, at least for me, the gray skin makes them look old, like Grandpa Volatiles. I just can't take them too seriously. Like, I see what they were going for, but it's just too much of a change. I will say though, most of these problems do seem to be fixed in Dying Light the Beast, so I guess it's not that bad anymore. Okay, for these guys, I think they kinda cooked. Not only do they look terrifying with the red color, but they are actually more competent and formidable killers. They have grown an immunity to UV lights, meaning you can't use that to run or stun them. You gotta fight these guys. They can spit their acidic phlegm rapidly and fight with this animalistic fighting style. The only thing that really holds back this variant is the lack of appearance. I'm sure some people will play the whole game and never come across one of these things. Like, seriously, I get they are supposed to be rare, but at least have a location where they always spawn. This Volatile can be found in the Bloody Ties DLC and the final stage of Freak Fight. This thing is a beast and freaking relentless. It also has some combos it unleashes when fighting. Also, it has a howl where it can summon virals to aid it, but apparently my game lagged, and when he screeched, nothing happened, and it took me about 3 tries to kill it, and each time no viral showed up. I do like that these infected bosses are added in the game, just wish they had added more of them. So I don't even know if these guys are even volatiles, but they literally look like volatiles, at least their faces do. So I decided to add them here just because of that. If you want to say they aren't volatiles and just screamers, then that's fine too, but for this video, they are gonna be here. They have straight jackets on, which now thinking about it, they probably aren't volatile since they can be found during the day, but their faces are close enough. Either way, all they do is just scream, and that's about it. Very easy to kill, just annoying if you let them scream. It does raise the question as to why their faces look like volatiles. Were they perhaps in the process of changing but somehow got interrupted? Who knows? All I know is the first time I saw one of these things, I thought it was a volatile. Arguably the best chimera in Dying Light the Beast. I'm not gonna lie, all the chimeras in the game were very easy to kill except this guy. However, if you use the flamethrower and fight him in the water, then he is very easy to beat. But an invisible volatile is just something I never thought I'd see. The sound it makes as it creeps near you makes me think of a predator. Honestly, that's literally what it is. It also produces this blue-like electricity, and if it takes enough damage, it reverts back to its basic instincts and pursues you until it kills you or dies. His transformation resembles a gigantic, horrific volatile. All the skin is gone and replaced by his muscular body. Unlike your typical volatile, his upgraded body allows him to use special attacks, allowing him to cause shockwaves when pounding the ground. He is extremely durable and fast. Now, if you don't want to consider him a volatile, then that's fine. I just added him here because he looks like a skinless giant one. Now, technically speaking, these two aren't variants to the Volatile, but what kind of person would I be if I didn't add the Pumpkin Volatile and the Ice Volatiles? These things only come out to play during specific events, but I do believe they deserve a place here. The Pumpkintiles are literally just Volatiles with pumpkin heads. I don't know what to think of these guys. I can't decide whether the pumpkin head makes them more terrifying or goofy looking. And then we got the Ice Volatiles. These things are just wicked. Their bodies are covered in ice, making them look more menacingly than ever before. I actually like this blue ice over their bodies more than the blue armor the Alpha Volatiles have. Boom, and I think that is it. I'm pretty sure at least. There could be 1 or 2 missing, but I just can't find anything else. But if I did miss any volatile, please let us know in the comments. The volatiles are possibly one of the most unique and horrifying zombies or infected ever created. The whole night chasing thing was just a brilliant move by the creators. I wish for the next game they introduce a new volatile variant. Like imagine a pitch black variant running around at night, and when you try using UV lights, its body just absorbs the light, making you run in darkness. Or whatever, just something new. Volatiles have so much potential. Heck, the whole world has so much potential. I do think the chimeras were kind of a letdown. We should have been able to find some roaming around, but sadly that wasn't the case. But maybe for the next game, or heck, even a comic story could focus on a chimera volatile that escaped the Baron's lab and is now terrifying humans. But that is it for this video. I do appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. Like, sub, or don't as long as you enjoyed the video. Goodbye.